Jerry, your thoughts? What's running through your mind at this point?
Well, I'm still trying to find it hard to believe it. He runs over to us, and he leans across the ropes, and he's going, I told you, and you, and you, and you, I'm king of the world, king of the world. You must all bow to me. Now, everybody together, am I not the king of the world? And you could hear him say this. And I was half tempted to say, yeah.
What are you going to say, right?
You know what's strange is, if you look at that carefully, Liston has spat out his mouthpiece, and the first person to see that he's quit is Clay.
He's reacting before anybody else is.
He is
right.
In the middle of the ring with his arms up, and nobody else yet knows what's happening. He has sensed it, or seen it, or knows it.
In his career, Liston, before, was there any quit in him before that you'd seen?
Never, and this man was invincible. I mean, the next time I hear the word invincible, I'm running to the betting window and betting against him. But this man was invincible. This was impossible. He's not going to quit. He's going out on his shield. His shield was a stool. He quit. First time a heavyweight championship had ever changed hands like this since Willard and Dempsey in 1919, sitting on a stool.
And the interesting thing about it is that as soon as the decision was made, Ali was now the champion of the world. Now the critics came forth with, well, we really don't know how old he was. We really don't know how many fights he had.
Right.
He really got old in the ring. He got, there was still a total disbelief in Ali.
And you had no idea what was happening. Here was Liston offering up excuses too.
Oh, yeah.
What was the reaction to
Shoulder.
Liston at that point? Was he viewed as a quitter, or what were people saying about Liston at that point?
He came up with this thing which was transmitted to us through Jack Nyland, a manager. His shoulder, he had torn his shoulder and blah, 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 blah. And everybody looked at everybody else. The next day they brought x-rays to the press conference. And I remember saying to the guy next to me, I wonder whose shoulder that is.
Yes. You had no idea.
How was Clay viewed at that point? Again, Jerry, in just about the old guard now having to come to terms with this guy.
They were very upset about it, I will say. And I don't know whether I was an old guard or new guard, but I thought it was great. But they were very upset about it. And then they didn't have time to digest that, because the next morning,
the next day,
he comes in with the press conference that rocks the world. My name is Cassius X. He goes through all this, and then he goes into the speech, and I remember the red ants stay with the red ants, the black ants stay with the black ants, rutabagas stay with rutabagas, or whatever. And
you were taking notes.
Yeah. And suddenly, my reaction to it was, because I didn't believe the Nation of Islam at that point was more than a cult. I said, they got the name for the stationery.
And it really was a shock to everyone. I'm not sure that it was just the fight, as Jerry said. It was the name change and everything. But you heard a lot of rumbling and mumbling about this new guy, and he's a mouth, and he can't fight, and as you say, there were all kinds of excuses trotted out. Everybody had an excuse. 3 rounds in 3 years, shoulder now, they've thrown the shoulder in, cuts, he had cuts.
Revisionist history.
And afterwards,
many revisionist historians out there.
Afterwards, it was the Muslims threatened his family. It's afterwards, all kinds of things like that, which just didn't make any sense.
And he just was sitting there on. I don't think Liston was that smart to think all this up. It was the writers excusing their pick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely what it was.
Well, I don't know if were you new guard or old guard? You're old guard now. You're new guard at the time, right? Were you? Well,
I was barely on guard.
You always have something.
Okay, guys, next up, we fast forward to another legendary Ali upset. It's the Rumble in the Jungle against George Foreman. Jerry and Bert will share more memories here at Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn. This is Ringside, the top 10 heavyweights on ESPN Classic.
Welcome back to Gleason's Gym. I'm Brian Kenny, and this is Ringside, the top 10 heavyweights. Tonight, we're showcasing some of the most memorable fights of Muhammad Ali. Number 2 on the countdown compiled by boxing historian Bert Sugar. Ali once said, "I'm the astronaut of boxing. Joe Louis and Jack Dempsey were just jet pilots. I'm in the world of my own." And that he was, at least on October 30th, 1974. Ali was 32 when he took on George Foreman in Zaire. Big George was considered to be the greatest puncher in heavyweight history. Most fight analysts were certain that Ali would be overwhelmed by Foreman's brute power. Just like Sonny Liston, Foreman found Ali to be an elusive target, and this time an older Ali would outbox and occasionally outmuscle the formidable champ, a man who had destroyed Joe Frazier just a year earlier. We take you now to Africa for early round coverage of the Rumble in the Jungle.